John, you've just written a very entertaining piece about the WWE for the Players Tribune. How did you become such a big wrestling fan?
It was growing up in North Carolina. It was sort of, I think as a kid growing up in Greensboro, North Carolina, I said in the article we would get at the very least, one WWE event to come to our hometown a year. And Greensboro was always a very important stop for the WWE. The people were very enthusiastic about the product, as was I. I think growing up in middle school, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, my friends and I, that's all we cared about. I mean, our week revolved around Monday nights, and then when Tuesday at school, all we would do was talk about wrestling. It's a bit geeky, I guess, if looking back at it now, but it's something I'm certainly not ashamed of. I love the WWE. I still love it now. It's very entertaining.
Now, you're right that you'd be sent to bed before the show had finished, but then you'd sneak back down to watch the end. How does a guy your size sneak back down and go unnoticed?
Well, I was a bit smaller, so you got to remember this was like the 6th, 7th, 8th grade version of myself. So I would always 10:15, 10:30. My parents would want me to go to bed. I didn't have a TV in my room. Of course, the commercial break, I would go upstairs. They would go to their room, and I'd sneak back down and sort of put the volume on as low as it possibly could go that I could actually hear it. Then I'd hear my dad walk through the hallway and try to, get me back back upstairs to go to sleep, and I'd hide behind the couch and everything. But they didn't want me staying up to about 11:05 whenever the show ended. But I always had to watch it.
I think you'd still hear Vince McMahon's voice even if it was turned all the way down.
Exactly, you could.
You revealed that Roger Federer is a big wrestling fan too.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
I think, well, I'm not going to say he watches it all the time, but he knows his wrestling. He knows a lot of stuff. He's a man of he has a wealth of knowledge for sure. I mean, speaks like 10 languages, and he knows the WWE. So he runs all the gamuts, and he's a great guy. I think that article kind of showed that everyone knows Roger Federer, the guy you see on TV, but he's a laid-back, relaxed guy off camera, one of the greatest guys you could ever meet.
Yeah. Now, if you were a wrestler at 6'10", what would your advantages be of using that height? What would your style be?
Well, I wouldn't be a high flyer. Even though my favorite wrestler Shawn Michaels was, I'd be a guy that would step over the top rope entering the ring instead of going under the top rope. So I guess I compared myself to the Undertaker, and he's sort of slow and methodical. That's how I am on the court as well. In between points, a lot of times it looks like I'm laboring and pretty tired, but I always seem to have a burst of energy left in me.
Yeah, and maybe a tough one, tough spur of the moment question, but two ATP players, who would you like to see go head to head in the squared circle?
Oof. I think for one, you got to pick Monfils. He would be a high flyer. He'd be the guy off the top rope, off the top of the ladder, the top of the cage, doing flips or whatnot. I think a Monfils versus, someone like a
Rafa? Would he be a wrestler?
Yeah, Rafa. Yeah, I think, or even anyone. I think it's someone like a Djokovic, a guy that does everything well. Does everything, I guess, better than anyone else, but maybe not the top rope stuff like Monfils could do.